The Golden Age saw the creation of a lot of great superheroes. We got The Flash, Captain Marvel, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Daredevil, Captain America, and more. But among these shining examples, there were superheroes that perhaps didn't make the grade. So this video, I want to share with you my personal list of the top 10 worst, stupidest, most forgettable superheroes created in the Golden Age. Number 1, the Bouncer. This exciting superhero's power is bouncing, like a rubber ball. The Bouncer is the mythological figure Antonidas, and for whatever reason they spell his name wrong in the comics. This legendary figure passes his extraordinary bouncing abilities to his descendants throughout the generations. The comic takes place in the 40s, where Antonidas' descendant, Adam Antonidas Jr., is hurting from his failed career as a college athlete. Apparently his bouncing abilities made him fantastic at the high jump and the hurdles, and where it went sour is people noticed a human being bouncing around like a fucking bouncy ball. So he was forced to retire from athletics, and apparently no one from the government found him and then diced him up, because the government in the 1940s apparently was just really incompetent. So instead, Adam becomes a sculptor. When one of Adam's friends are in trouble, surprisingly, one of his sculptures of his mythological ancestor comes to life and drags his great, you get the point, grandson into battling evil. Adam's ancestor wears a purple toga and sandals he wore in ancient times to battle crime. Adam just wears his plaster-splattered smock and beret. These two faced off against such evils as the glowworm, and I can't help but think of this childhood toy when I hear that, and also a circus clown who was convinced he was the devil named Mr. Lucifer. Jesus Christ, 1940s. Number 2, Captain Tootsie. Have you ever had a Tootsie Roll and thought, man, I wish this candy had a mascot that also fought crime while giving out these delicious morsels to children for some reason that follow him around? Well, you're in luck. The 1940s blessed us with Captain Tootsie, whose lines included saying things such as, "After that excitement, men, we need another Tootsie Roll. It'll pick us up fast." This hero after our hearts actually had his own secret legion, which followed him around and helped him out. But in reality was actually a bunch of children that just followed him around and occasionally he gave candy to. And I know what you're thinking, you sick fuck. You're thinking, oh my god, a grown man in a really tight costume with candy leading children around to danger. Whoa, no. He was their friend, okay? People like you don't belong on my channel. You're just sick. He was just joyfully leading them to danger with the reward of future diabetes. But speaking of that, I'm actually half convinced his candies were drugged, because every time he consumed one, he got this unnatural amount of energy. So I'm pretty sure they were laced with something like cocaine or acid. Maybe heroin. I don't really know. My favorite part of any of his adventures was when he would teach the children about something new, like how a sniper rifle works. Number 3, the Clown. Nick Nolan was a police commissioner fed up with the crooks getting away. One day he looked at his paperweight shaped like a clown and thought, oh, to be back in the old circus again. Then he started dressing like a clown and fighting crime. He called himself the Clown. I'm not even fucking with you right now. I'm not sure I have to talk anymore about why this is just really stupid, but so this guy went around with juggling balls that were packed full of knockout gas and disguised as a clown. He actually took down a criminal empire. Dressed as a clown. He went up to them and they were like, hey, you're dressed like a clown. You should be part of our criminal empire. Oh no, for some reason, this clown's not on our side and deceived us and tore it all down. I don't even know 1940s. I don't even know. Also, he had 2 issues, so surprise. When you think of Dr. Vampire, what do you think of? Do you think of a doctor that got changed into a vampire but still wants to help innocent people, and so even though he's a night creature, he still helps people with his medical expertise? Do you think of a vampire who was like, hey, I don't want to be evil, so I'm gonna go get my MD or DO and I'm gonna become a doctor while being a vampire? Well, you'd be disappointed because Dr. Vampire wasn't even a fucking vampire. He was called Dr. Vampire because he hunted down and killed vampires. And here's an example, and I deeply apologize if you're Jewish, this is the example that comes to mind right now. That would be like if I went around killing Jews and I named myself Dr. Jew. How does that let anyone know that I go around killing Jews? It doesn't. It's just lazy naming. I just want to know his reasoning. Was he like, well, I'm a doctor and I really hate vampires, so maybe I should be called Dr. Vampire. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And his work outfit was just a suit, a cape, and a hat. I feel like he really wasn't invested in this whole thing, and it was really kind of half-assed because even when he encountered vampires, he didn't really know what they looked like, even if they had the sharp pointy teeth. Just kind of seems like maybe he was a doctor that got a little bored, maybe he was tired about his home life, his wife was constantly bitching, and he was like, you know, I'm just gonna become a vampire killer. No big deal. Get out of the house. Normal midlife crisis shit, you know. Also, I'm not convinced that this guy isn't a racist. He seems awfully concerned with gypsies and how their blood is often tainted with the killer strain, which is racial profiling if I've ever seen it. Number 5, Dynamite Thor. Pete Thor was a leading expert on explosives who, somehow, managed to make himself invulnerable to the power of detonation. TNT, dynamite, or anything that exploded wouldn't hurt him. But for some reason, despite these immense explosions not doing him any harm, bullets and hits to the head with a lead pipe did hurt him. So I'm not sure how that science works out. But with his powers of not being blown up, he took the name Dynamite and started fighting crime. And he loved to throw explosives at criminals and people that were wrongdoing and just really fuck them up. He also had the power of flight by detonating explosives on his belt, which would launch him into the air. Then he would detonate another explosive and it would take him in a different direction. I'm really not sure how many people died in the area that he was lighting off these explosives, but I would imagine the number is a lot. Number 6, the Puppeteer. Have you ever seen a superhero that is such a shit show that you question your own life? That's the Puppeteer. Alex Hope is a puppeteer. That's his day job. He works as a literal puppeteer. He then decides to become a superhero named the Puppeteer. There are a few things wrong with this. One, normally not a good idea to have your superhero name revolve around your day job. That would be like Clark Kent calling himself Meek Reporter Man. Just not a good idea. 2, I'm not really sure what his name had to do with his superhero self. He had nothing to do with it. This guy wore red, white, and blue with a V on his chest for, I don't even know what that V stands for. Victory? Valor? Someone confused about how to dress and name himself? His powers were the ability to fly along a red, white, and blue shaft of light. This shaft of light was only granted whenever the opening notes to Beethoven's 5th Symphony were played on a special organ he kept in his workshop. The Puppeteer either had to play it or his sidekick was sent to do it so that he could fly. Which is just so fucking inconvenient. And because this superhero just keeps getting better and better, guess what his sidekick was? A bird named Raven. Guess what kind of bird it was? A bald eagle. Did the writers just not know how to pick names? And I'm actually convinced they didn't know what a raven looked like, and they drew a bald eagle and they were like, oh, it's a fucking raven. Here, let me just go do some more cocaine and then we'll continue drawing these panels. And the crazy part about this bird is sometimes it's super intelligent and it can talk, and then other times it can only caw and people can't understand it. I'm really not sure what the logic behind this was, but I'm 100% convinced the writers were either high off their ass or drunk off their ass the entire time. 100% guaranteed. Number 7. Just In Wright. Young Justin Wright was an orphan handed from one foster family to another. As a young adult, he learns that he inherited a vast fortune from his biological parents who were murdered by criminals. While exploring his parents' home that now belonged to him, he discovered a scarf that on one side could be seen through clearly, and on the other side was completely opaque. Finding this, he decides, what the hell, might as well become a superhero. And he begins wearing the scarf like a, quote, blindfold mask. He then picked his superhero name, Justin Wright, which sounded just like his actual name, Justin Wright, which goes back to my earlier point. Don't fucking pick your names based off your occupation or your actual goddamn name, idiots. This superhero had a very distinctive outfit, a suit, and his weapons, his 2 rock-hard fists that he loved to use to beat the ever-loving shit out of criminals. Interestingly, before his first adventure, the crime underworld had already heard of him and were afraid of the new menace that popped up. So it seems this dumbass not only took an unfortunate name, but also advertised himself. Somehow. Maybe he put out an ad. The best part is how he gets the attention of the police. He throws a signed note and a bundle of evidence tied to a brick through the police chief's window. This mighty hero only made one appearance, and then he just disappeared. And I would imagine maybe it's because of his superhero name and he was found out very quickly by the criminals, or because he was actually throwing bricks through a police station window. Number 8. The Eye. The Eye is literally just an eye, a disembodied floating eye that can speak and loves to fight crime. There's no origin story for this. It's just an eye. And despite having the power to melt metals, appear and disappear at will, and manipulate invisible forces and fly, the Eye still depended on humans to fight crime for him. It was just odd. Number 9. In a similar vein, but not, we have the Face. Tony Trent doesn't have the power to fly. He doesn't have the power of super strength or super agility. In fact, he doesn't have a single fucking superpower. What he does have is a mask. A mask that, as he would explain in a car by himself to seemingly no one, the rubber mask was made especially for my face. Every curve and bump of my head is followed so that it fits my features exactly. What is more frightening is when he says to himself, which is probably the 100th time while in a car all alone, "Good thing the man that made this for me is dead, so none can trace me." And he even has a little smile on his face. Maybe when you're talking about someone that's deceased that made something for you, maybe don't smile about it like a goddamn creeper, okay? Can you do that for me? He used this horrifying mask, while wearing evening wear, by the way, to momentarily startle or confuse criminals to get the upper hand and then just beat the shit out of them. He did this for 6 years and no one seemed to learn their lesson. But you know, you might be asking yourself, why? Why did this man turn to a life of fighting crime? What lit a fire in his soul to fight back against injustice? Well, he was a radio announcer, and he just got sick of that terrible news that he reported on every single day. You dumb fuck. Number 10, Kangaroo Man. Kangaroo Man had a kangaroo. That was his gimmick. He went to Australia, found a kangaroo on the plains, seemed to have kidnapped it from its home, and then spent 2 years training it to be, quote, practically human. And I tell you what, this kangaroo was amazing. The animal could understand human speech, but his own speech was limited to his thoughts that were translated for readers
but they were very sophisticated thoughts. The kangaroo also seemed to master martial arts and could have parts of his body run over with no ill effect. Despite the kangaroo having these abilities, the comic is still about the man that really doesn't have any abilities of his own, which actually leads me to believe that this man died long ago, and what we're seeing is his disbelief and inability to accept that he's dead as he's in the afterlife, and he's fabricated all these adventures. It's really sad. So thank you for watching my pick for the top 10 worst superheroes created during the Golden Age. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, and come back for more comic videos, Star Wars videos, Game of Thrones videos, anything sci-fi, fantasy, or horror related, as well I do reviews. And in the future, I really want to do the other comic eras because shit got real.